The NASCAR Whelen Euro Series will continue its travels around Europe and for the first time ever will head to Most in the Czech Republic on the 29th and 30th of June. With 4 races over the course of the weekend, there'll be plenty for the fans and the drivers to get excited about. The NASCAR Grand Prix of the Czech Republic also marks the halfway point of the 2019 season. Close racing and pure racing are guaranteed. But when the checkered flag falls, who will claim the win?
Hello NASCAR fans, I am Martin Doubek and let's watch my onboard video here in OM Max Motion NASCAR Show 2019 in Most. So let's start. The first corner is turn right. It's really difficult to find braking zone here. Second gear brakes, turn right, jump over the curb, use the curb. Full throttle, use the outside curb. Little bit move on inside, full gas, third gear, fourth gear, brake really hard, second gear, jump over the curb, use inside curb, full throttle, jump over the curb again, full throttle, and brake really hard. Second gear, full throttle. This corner it will be really nice for overtaking, full throttle, fourth gear, and we are going to fastest corner. Third gear, brakes, full throttle, use the curb. Now go up to the hill. Brakes. Second gear, use the curb inside. Move to inside. Use the curb, full throttle now. Third gear, use the curb. Full throttle, fourth gear. And we are going to the last corner. It'll be a really nice zone for overtaking. Brake really hard. Second gear. Use the curb. Full throttle. Full throttle. Third gear. Hello Ariana. Full throttle. And here we are. Thank you NASCAR fans. I hope that you enjoy my onboard video. And I hope you will cross fingers for me.
závodním startovním polím, ale samozřejmě to hlavní, to je NASCAR Euro Series. No a teď 9.55 nás čeká první kvalifikace, 10minutová kvalifikace pro skupinu. Do atraktivního superpole, takže za chviličku si budeme tak ještě než se budeme věnovat právě ONFL Max Motion NASCAR Show a tomu hlavnímu vrátku celého vítězu, tedy NASCAR Euro Series Elite 1, tedy Elite 1 a jejich kvalifikaci, tak si povedu znovu dnešní doprovodný program na sobotní den připravenou pro ty nejlepší také dětské dopravní výště, stánkový prodej, atrakce pro děti, skákací hra, fotokoutech Creanor. U té první hlavní tribuny na diváckém salu, dále Hot Wheels, což je česká herna, samozřejmě poslední víkend historických amerických vozidel 13-18, které bude dneska čekat na závodní trati slavnostní defilé. Zmiňovaný projekt, tedy spravení vozů Street Connection for Charity, kdy se jedná o charitativní projekt výstavu upravených vozů se vzduchovým podvozkem v rámci tedy 4. ročníku Street Connection for Charity, kdy a budu doprovodného programu si dneska budete moci vidět například Crazy Days, americké vystoupení na motocyklech nebo akrobatické vystoupení na motocyklech, aby to byly přesní ve 12 hodin. Poté ve 13 hodin ukázka amerického fotbalu přímo na startovním rostu. Ve 12:25 Lurány Trophy, závody Formuly, poté NASCAR, Euro Series. Možnost setkat se ve 13 hodin s těmi hlavními hvězdami právě seriálu NASCAR Euro Series. No a nesmíme znovu zapomenout 18:30 i na zmiňovanou avizovanou slavnostní americký automobilový vozidel na závodní trávě v rámci právě Franku. Majitelů historických amerických vozidel je nebylo součástí toho víkendu ONFL Max Motion
Já to nevidím, ne?
on the outlap has had 1 pole position but 4 second places. And who is going to mount a challenge for pole position here? What might we see? Another pole sitter? Could we see 4 different pole sitters out of 4 different qualifying sessions? Because Alan Day leads the championship, the number 54 car. He's on 221 points coming into this weekend. The number 11 car, there it is, of Stinis Longin is 19 points adrift on 202 in the championship. And Nicola Rocca, the rather rapid Italian driver, teammate to Stinis Longin, lies 3rd in the championship on 189 points. And Nicola Rocca has had a consistent season. He's only had 1 podium, but he's had 3 5th places, he's had a 6th place, and he's had another top 10 finish on top of that as well. So it's been a consistent season for the Italian. Say another driver that is eligible for what is the junior trophy. So through and on to the first flying lap goes Stinis Longin, down the straight in towards the braking area for the tight turn 1 and turn 2, very much modelled on almost the Monza chicane, the first chicane at Monza. Into the right-hander, slightly tighter left-hand element to it as you then feed the throttle in. Over the curbs goes Stinis Longin, up towards the sweeping turn number 3 and turn number 4. Long left-hand sweep at turn 3 and turn 4. Continuing up towards the braking area and the flicks at turn 5 and turn 6, where you're back onto the brakes again then. It gets wiggly again as they head round through turn number 8 and up towards turn number 9 before the 360-degree hairpin at turn number 10, which is where he'll be heading now. And it's important to get a good run coming out of turn 10. Many of the drivers are saying it's all about getting out of some of the key corners quickly and then carrying that momentum through the next fast sections, which is where Stinis Longin is heading now, through turn number 12, up towards turn number 13, and then down another straight before you're onto the brakes at turn number 15 and 16, which is another chicane that flicks right and flicks left almost. Under the bridge he goes, and looking nice and clean and tidy at this stage. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, if you lost a little bit of the audio a few moments ago. We've got just a small little technical issue we're trying to work on here, so apologies for that. But Stinis Longin's lap looks very good, sweeps his way round through turn number 18. There goes Mauro Trione, the number 31 car in the hands of the very, very likeable Swiss-based Italian, accelerating his way onto what is hopefully a quick lap for him. That's the sister car to Alan Day, the reigning champion. Mauro Trione, one of many characters we've got in the 2019 NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. Looking neat and tidy, actually. Stinis Longin still pressing on his lap. There is one car that I think is already in the pit lane, and that's Dario Carzo, who I think has brought his number 8 car from Racers Motorsport directly into the pit lane. But Stinis Longin looking quick at this stage. So we concentrate on what is going on with Mauro Trione. Alan Day has popped the best lap in that we've seen so far. Onto the brakes, up towards turn number 20 and 21 in reality. I think the graphic showed 17 turns, but there's a couple of kinks, and I don't think the graphic shows our corners, but officially 21 corners here at Most around this 4.2 kilometre or 2.6 mile circuit. There is Alan Day. He is quickest in this session so far, 1 minute 43.009. That is a little way off the 141.3 that he posted in yesterday's qualifying session, or free practice session I should say. He has got at the moment a bit of time in hand between himself and the car that is second quickest. Loris Hazeman's running second quickest. I think Henry Tuamala, though, with number 23, has just bettered that time, so I think actually it's Tuamala that's now up to second, and Loris Hazeman's down into third. Alan Day looking as though he's on another neat lap again, though, this time. Runs a little bit wide, though, all over the grass. He's pushing on too much, bounces off the grass, then runs a little bit sideways coming out of the corner as well as the dust gets onto the controlled general slick tyres that they all run. There is Alan Day. He is quickest in this session by almost 0.4 of a second from the number 23 Memphis racing car in the hands of Henry Tuamala, the Scandinavian. Stinis Longin is third quickest, half a second adrift, but this is going to be a slower lap this time from Alan Day. Over the start-finish line goes the back-to-back champion, and no longer is he on pole position because Loris Hazemans, the Dutchman, has now at the wheel of his Hendricks Motorsport number 50 gone on to provisional pole. So Alan Day will be hearing that from his spotter and the team. He will know he's got to put another lap now on those general tyres, and in these warm conditions tyre conservation over the course of a very, very, very hot weekend that is forecast here in the Czech Republic at Autodrom Most is going to be key. And again, a snatch break there from Alan Day, slightly overdriving the car round through turn number 5 and turn number 6. So he's clearly pushing on, and I think just might be struggling a little bit in this session. That's the car that's on pole, the number 50 car of Loris Hazeman's, or he was on pole. It's now Nicola Rocca, the number 22 PK Carsport Chevrolet Camaro, that has gone on to pole position. Nicola Rocca is third in the championship standings. He was only 8th quickest in the combined free practice session yesterday, but for the driver who finished 4th in the standings back in 2016, he's been racing in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series since 2013 sporadically. That is a good lap time, 1 minute 42.302. Can Loris Hazeman's, though, get himself back to the top of the times? Remember, it's the top 12 that go through into Super Pole, which means that down in 13th position, as you'll see on the graphic on the left of your screen, 3 times champion, the most successful driver in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series, the Spaniard, and the Villarino, is at the moment not destined to work his way through. And also Jacques Villeneuve is also not going to head through towards Super Pole either at this stage. Through goes Loris Hazeman's, back over the start-finish line. And is that going to be good enough to grab pole position? Yes, it is. A 1 minute 41.328 for Loris Hazeman's. Sees him back onto pole position. Alan Day is second at this stage, 1 minute 42.078. And Nicola Rocca, who a few moments ago was top of the times, now finds himself down in 3rd position. Over the start-finish, comes back-to-back champion Luca Lasser, who was champion some years ago, back in 2009-2010. He is 5th quickest at the wheel of his Mishu Motors number 33 car. There goes number 12, Francesco Cini, who is 6th quickest currently, the Italian. Works his way through turn number 1 and turn number 2. Former champion in the Euro V8 series, also champion in the Radical European Championship was some years ago, Francesco Cini. The 38-year-old Italian for Solaris Motorsport at the wheel of his Chevy is 6th quickest. There's number 24, Nicola Rocca. So he was briefly atop of the times. Needs to find the best part of, 8/10 of a second if he wants to get himself back to the top of the times, but matters not really. As long as you're inside the top 12, that's the important thing in this first aspect of qualifying, for which there is less than a lap time to go now. So there's 1 minute and 30 seconds to go for Nicola Rocca as he turns his way through turn 15, turn 16, and then starts to head down through the fast sections of the circuit, the sweeping corners at turn number 18 and turn number 19, and in towards, as we heard from Martin Dubac, that potential out-braking area come the racing, turn number 20, which is where he's threading his way through now. First sector looks reasonable from Nicola Rocca. Is it going to be good enough, though, to see him improve his time? 3rd quickest, 1 minute 42.170 for the Italian. Through and over the start-finish line, and it is quicker. It is a little bit quicker into the 1 minute 41s for Nicola Rocca this time through. Great lap from Jacques Villeneuve, the number 32 Go Fast Racing Chevy Camaro, just goes 2nd quickest. So Nicola Rocca, number 24, we've just seen him improve his time up to 2nd. He's already down to 3rd by the time he exits turn number 2 and heads through the sweeping corners at turn number 3. So Hazeman's is quickest, Villeneuve is 2nd quickest, Nicola Rocca is 3rd, 4th is Alan Day, 5th just moving up is number 27 Thomas Ferrando, another former Elite 2 champion, moving up to Elite 1. Christophe Bouchou is 6th. Fred Gabion is 7th with just 10 seconds to go in this session. And who is not going to make it through that we might expect? Number 77 for Memphis Racing, Alexander Graf, is not going to make it through. Neither is Ulysse Delceau, who was 5th quickest on combined times yesterday, but is only 13th quickest at the wheel of car number 36. But there are still cars out there. They are on quick laps, and the times will count. Even though the checkered flag has now gone out, any cars still on a quick lap, the time will count. So there might be some further shuffling in the order. 7th quickest, the number 3 RDV competition Chevrolet SS of Fred Gabion, 3 times a runner-up in this championship and a winner at Brands Hatch, has gone into the pit lane, so he is confident that he will remain inside the top 12. And as the next few cars head over the start-finish line, Loris Hazeman's understandably dives for the pit lane. Ulysse Delceau desperately trying to get the number 13 car inside the number 36 car inside the top 12. He's 13th. Is he going to improve? and it looks as though no is the answer to that one. So Ulysse Delceau takes the checkered flag and will not find his way through into Superpole, unfortunately. That is an enormous shame, say, for the driver who must have been on a high yesterday, 5th quickest on combined times following free practice, but the reigning Elite 2 champion is not going to head through towards the Superpole session. Martin Dubeck comes through. He'll be disappointed at his home NASCAR Grand Prix that he's not made it through to the Superpole session for Elite 1, but he's got another opportunity because he is competing in both Elite 1 and Elite 2 this weekend, so he'll be back out very shortly for another qualifying session. But as the last few cars take the checkered flag, there goes Eric Verdonker through and over the start-finish line at the wheel of the number 98 car for Motorsport 98, the 57-year-old Belgian. He has not made it through, so we will look towards the top 12 that will make it through. I think everybody has now largely taken the checkered flag, so the cars making it through to Superpole. I know the graphic has just disappeared from the left side of your screen, but quickest in that session, number 50 for Hendricks Motorsport, Loris Hazemans. Second quickest was number 32 for Go Fast Racing, Jacques Villeneuve. Third, number 24, Nicola Rocca for PK Car Sport. Fourth was number 54 for Cal Racing, Alan Day, the reigning champion. Fifth, number 11, Stinis Longines for PK Car Sport. In 6th place was the Ford Mustang, number 27 of Thomas Ferrando. 7th place for Alex Caffey Racing, number 1, which is the Ford Mustang of ex-Le Mans winner, Christophe Beauchou. 8th place is number 69. That is going to be Sebastian Bleekie-Molen, who is through to Superpole. In 9th place, number 23 for Memphis Racing, the Scandinavian Henry Tumala. 10th place, the 2009-2010 champion, number 33 for Michoud Motors, Luca Lasserre, at the wheel of his Ford. In 11th place, Fred Gabillon, the Brands Hatch winner and 3 times a runner-up in this championship, makes it through. And number 12, just heading down pit lane, Francisco Cini is the final car to make it through to Superpole. So in 13th, not making it through, therefore that car will line up 13th on the grid, subject to official confirmation and any other penalties that might be applied possibly before the race gets underway. But number 77, Alexander Graf, missing out unfortunately, as does another former Elite 2 champion, number 9, Gianmarco Ercoli, 3 times a champion and double winner this year, number 48, Ander Villarino, also did not make it through for Racing Engineering and his Ford Mustang. That is a big, big surprise, as is the car that was 16th quickest as well that didn't make it through, Ulysse Delceau. So there's a few big names that have not made it through into the Superpole session. But the 12 that did, the top 12 there on the left-hand side of your screen, are now going to fight it out to decide who is going to start on pole position for the 7th round of the 2019 Elite 1 Championship. Now, for some cars, they will have done more flying laps in that qualifying session than others, and therefore they will now potentially have a bit more life in their tyres to utilise and push even harder come Superpole. And for some of them, it's strategic as well. They complete their Superpole session as early as they can, head down pit road to line up at the bottom end of it so they can be first out into this session that is coming up in a few moments' time. You can see the enormous crowd that we've got here. So we look back at Alan Day and Stinis Longines as they were sort of building towards their quick laps. They're 2 of the drivers that are certainly going to be fighting for pole position in this session that is coming up. And we look forward to seeing as to whether either of those might start on pole position. Remember, they've both had a pole so far this year. The other pole sitter, Ander Villarino, has not made it through to Superpole. Or might we possibly have a 4th different pole sitter of the 4 different qualifying sessions that we've had? That was Stinis Longines overtaking Alan Day on the outlap that we saw there. Already a big crowd forming here at Most. We gather already that the roads into the circuit are a little busy, to say the least, and this is just the first of 2 days of racing. Others, I think, trying to seek a bit of sunshine, and others seeking a little bit of shade. So 10 minutes of qualifying are done. Superpole session for Elite 1 will be up in just a few moments' time, and then we will repeat the process for Elite 2. There's Alan Day. You can see him just pushing that little bit too hard as he came out of the corner, ran wide on the exit of it, and then the dirt on the tyres forcing him wide at the next corner. So you can tell, not many mistakes you see from Alan Day. He's a very cool and calculated driver, but you can see he was pushing hard on that lap and now found the limit. He will remember that limit and make sure that I'm sure he doesn't go beyond it. So crowd enjoying the moment and enjoying the sunshine. The cars lining up at the bottom of pit lane with the Hendricks Motorsport Ford Mustang of Loris Hazemans there as the first in the queue, and that is a car that in both Elite 1 and Elite 2 this year has always gone beautifully well, because he shares the car with the Swiss driver Giorgio Maggi, and Giorgio is leading the Elite 2 championship in that car. The vast majority of cars we see out in both Elite 1 and Elite 2. There are a few cars this weekend that are only competing in Elite 1, the likes of Ulysse Delceau and Fred Gabillon for RDV competition. Also Jacques Villeneuve this weekend is on his own. So cars heading out now, ready to take part in the Super Pole session. And this is now just 5 minutes. Well, the outlap, again, remember, takes the best part of 2 minutes. By the time the cars come over the start-finish line, in reality, they will only get 2 flying laps to try and put in the perfect time that will see them top of the times in this session, and therefore heading towards pole position for the race that takes place later on today here. The Elite 1 race coming up later on today. That is scheduled to start at 1:40 later this afternoon, 1:40 this afternoon, Central European summertime. It will be around 7:40 AM in the morning, Eastern time in the US. So cars heading out for the Super Pole session. Alan Day, say a man who has already had a pole position so far this year. There is the number 3 RDV competition Chevrolet SS of Fred Gabillon. Fred won the second of the 2 races at Brands Hatch at Speedfest 7. It's his only podium visit of the season so far. He's only had 3 top 10s out of the 6 races. Something like a 9th, a 6th and a win. So it's not been a great season for the Frenchman, who lies 8th in the championship standings, 65 points off the championship lead, and would desperately like to have another cracking weekend. There is number 27, which is Thomas Ferrando, the 21-year-old Frenchman, who was runner-up in the Junior Trophy last year. He was 7th in the overall standings for Elite 1. He was the Elite 2 champion back in 2017. As they head on to the flying lap, number 32, Jacques Villeneuve. You can see the sun glinting off the windscreen of the Go Fast Racing prepared Chevrolet Camaro. Francisco Cini starts his flying lap as well. So important to get on the brakes at the right point through turn number 1 and turn number 2. Snatches a break on the unloaded wheel there, Francisco Cini. Just a brief lock-up. Shouldn't have compromised the run in towards turn number 1 too much. Here comes the number 23 car of Henry Tumala, the Finnish driver, who was champion in the Camaro Cup in Finland last year, having finished runner-up in it the previous year. And he has been a very, very good driver over the course of this season. We saw him briefly last year. He came out at Hockenheim, and I think Zolder for the last 2 rounds of the championship, but he has been the man to beat in the Challenger Trophy in Elite 1 so far this year. The Challenger Trophy is for bronze and silver graded drivers that enter the Elite 1 championship, and Henry Tuamala has been doing a chunk of winning in that throughout the course of this season. We'll be very pleased that he's got himself through into Super Pole. But what is the time going to look like? Remember, there's only 12 cars out there, so there's a bit more track space available around this 2.624 mile circuit. Down through the sweeping part of turn number 14 up towards the braking area for turn number 15 and 16. Underneath the bridge goes Henry Tumala. Nice and neat and tidy out of 16 up towards 17, the right-hand kink again, which is where Alan Day ran that little bit wide. Over the start-finish line goes Nicola Rocca, looking to try and pop a time in, which sees him go second quickest on his first flying lap. Loris Hazemans is the first driver to post a flying lap, a 1 minute 41.5. Still not quite down to the times that we were seeing in free practice yesterday. Number 54, Alan Day, his first flying lap sees him go third quickest with a 1:41.813. So there is Hazemans from Nicola Rocca. Alan Day third quickest, Denis Longines fourth, Luca Lasserre and then Jacques Villeneuve the top 6. And remember, there's only time now for one more flying lap. Alan Day again using all of the curb. The dust just raises a little bit as he heads round through turn number 10 up towards the very slight right-hand kink at turn number 11, then the left-hand kink at turn number 12, and this is where, if you get cleanly off that hairpin at turn number 10, you carry all of that momentum through this next section of corners. If you don't get the exit right, what is a small mistake at the exit is just exacerbated as the time you lose just builds and builds and builds through the quick sections. Alan Day looking nice and neat and tidy as he works his way round through turn number 15 and 16. But this man is top of the times. Loris Hazemans, who lies fourth in the standings. He's not had a win so far this year. He's had a second, a third, a fourth, and another couple of top tens on top of that. Is this going to be an improved time for what is already the provisional pole sitter? Loris Hazemans comes over the start-finish line, and what was a 1 minute 41.5 becomes a 1 minute 41.4. Improved time for Loris Hazemans. Nice and neat and tidy. And did he get over the start-finish line before the checkered flag? No is the answer, but he's not on pole anymore. Nicola Rocca takes pole position provisionally at this stage with a 141.431. If he can hang on to it, that will mean 4 different pole sitters out of the 4 different sessions that we've had so far. And there's only one more car now to take the checkered flag, which is the number 23 car of Henry Tuamala, who is going to be the last car to take the checkered flag. He has taken the checkered flag. He has not improved his time. So Nicola Rocca takes his first pole position of the 2018 season. And that's his fifth pole position, 4 previous pole positions. It's his 5th pole position in his NASCAR Whelen Euro Series career, and it now means that we've had 4 different pole sitters out of 4 different qualifying sessions in the Elite 1 division. He will be hugely pleased with that. Will the 25-year-old Italian, so used to race in Formula Renault Italy. He finished 4th in the standings back in 2016, which was his last full season in the championship. He was 9th in 2015, but for PK Car Sport and the number 24 Chevrolet Camaro in the hands of Nicola Rocca, he is going to head towards pole position for our Elite 1 race that takes place later on today here at Autodrome Most. The race itself scheduled to get underway at 13:40, but we'll go live on the stream at around about 13:25. So the top 6 rows of the grid then, they're on the left-hand side of your screen. Number 24, Nicola Rocca, fastest in the qualifying session for Superpole. Second was number 50 for Hendricks Motorsport at the wheel of the Ford, Loris Hazemans. Third quickest, number 54, Alan Day. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that, I would have thought. 4th quickest for PK Car Sport Chevy, number 11, Stenish Longines. 5th quickest for the Go Fast Racing Chevrolet, number 32 of Jacques Villeneuve. 6th was number 33 for Michoud Motors, Luca Lasserre. 6th was number 27, the Ford, also for Michoud Motors, Thomas Ferrando, in 7th place. 8th place was 69, which is Sebastian Bleeky-Molen with his Ford. 9th place for the number 12 Solaris Motorsport Chevrolet Camaro of Francisco Cini. In 10th place, racing this weekend for Alex Caffey Motorsport, is Christophe Bouchou with his Ford. 11th for Memphis Racing, and it's another Chevy, number 23 Henry Tuamala. And 12th, the last of the cars in Superpole, number 3 is for RDV Competition, the the Chevrolet SS, number 23 of Fred Gabillon. Toyota last year, wasn't it, of course, for Fred Gabillon. So that is the top 6 rows of the grid, and that then completes, in reality, subject to any other penalties that might be applied by the officials, but that now completes the way that the grid will look like. We saw from 13th backwards decided in the first part of qualifying. The top 6 rows of the grid now decided in Superpole. And we will very shortly see the cars heading back down pit road in the hands of the Elite 2 drivers for what this year is a slightly longer qualifying session for Elite 2. Over the course of the weekend, both Elite 1 and Elite 2 get the same track time, but Elite 2 have slightly shorter races than Elite 1 because they have a longer qualifying session. It's a 20-minute qualifying session for the Elite 2 competitors. And as with Elite 1, after that 20 minutes are up, the top 12 cars go through to fight it out for a further 5 minutes for Superpole to decide the front 6 rows of the grid. So Nicola Rocca, neat and tidy on his qualifying lap. You can see just how beautifully set up the number 24 PK Car Sport Chevrolet looks as he turned his way through turn number 15 and turn number 16 on a nice, neat and tidy lap, not even needing to use all of the curbs that we've seen some of the drivers doing to pop the quick time in, just running up to the edge of the curbs and then heading down pit road. Delighted, no doubt, will be the team that car heads to pole position for the first time this season. And actually, it means that PK Car Sport are the first team this year that have got 2 pole positions, because we saw his teammate, the sister car, Stinis Longines, do that at Brands Hatch. So it's back-to-back poles for the team, albeit different drivers. Stinis Longines at Brands, Nicola Rocca here at Autodrome Most. Well, the cars have been running off the circuit. You can see our officials here at Most now having to do the unenviable task in these warm conditions of sweeping the bits of gravel off the circuit. Those that are maybe on the straights have the opportunity to grab some shade and relax for a few moments before we see the Elite 2 session heading out very shortly. So the Elite 2 session will be heading out very, very quickly. The difference between Elite 1 and Elite 2, if you're not familiar with it, well, Elite 1 is for professional drivers in reality, so those with more experience or absolute pros, and Elite 2 is for the amateur drivers and the gentleman drivers. Now, there are a few that are doing both. We saw the number 7 car of Martin Dubeck lining up at end of pit road. He is doing both Elite 1 and Elite 2 this weekend. Some cars already in the garage, refueling being done there to what is the Team Bleekie-Molen car. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen will be handing that car over to his father, Michael Bleekie-Molen, for this next qualifying session. Michael briefly had a career in Formula One back in the 1970s. It was in 1977 and 1978 when he raced for the Ram and the ATS Formula One teams, having had a very good career back in Formula 3 and Formula 2, working his way up there. So Marshall at the front of the queue of cars, yellow flag in hand. Once the nod is given from race control, then we will get this 20-minute qualifying session underway. Parked in the garage is the number 32 Go Fast Racing Chevrolet Camaro of Jacques Villeneuve. There is no teammate for that car this weekend, so it is exclusively his to have over the course of this weekend. I think that the final bit of sweeping up has been done. Not a cloud in the sky here at Autodrome Most, as the cars are lining up at pit exit, ready to head out onto the circuit. That's another car, the number 98 car, that does both Elite 1 and Elite 2. So actually the first 2 cars in the queue, I think, are the only 2 drivers this weekend that are competing in both divisions. The number 7 car in the hands of the Czech driver Martin Dubeck. Behind him was number 98, which is Eric de Donker, who is also competing in both Elite 1 and Elite 2. And I would imagine in what is quite a physical circuit, there's always something to do. Most of the drivers have said there's no rest period here. From turn 21, the final corner, up to turn 1, the start-finish straight, is about the only opportunity you get to rest as a driver. And in warm conditions, the key to Martin Dubeck and Eric de Donker's success this weekend is keeping hydrated. And in these warm conditions, when you're racing in 4 races over the weekend and the qualifying sessions, then they are going to have to make sure they look after themselves as well. There goes number 2, which is, for this one, Jesse Vartiernen, driver who's also raced a bit like Henry Tuomala that we saw in the number 23 car out. Jesse Vartiernen's another driver, the Finn, who's been racing in the Chevrolet Camaro Cup in Finland. Finished 4th in that championship last year. There goes number 77, which is Freddie Hemberg. Another driver from Scandinavia, the 33-year-old Swede. V8 Thunder cars and champion in the Volvo Cup back in 2008. He's also a champion of Formula Ford, was he, many years ago, in the the Swedish Formula Ford Championship back in 2002. Freddie Hemberg, who at the wheel of that number 77 car so far this year has not as yet featured on the overall podium. He just missed out in the second of the 2 races at Valencia, where he finished in 4th position. What can he do in this qualifying session? Can he see himself through to Super Pole again? And are we going to see him mount a challenge potentially for pole position? Well, in terms of the championship standings, Giorgio Maggi leads the championship at the wheel of the number 50 Hendricks Motorsport Ford, the Swiss rookie. Second in the championship, just 4 points off him, is Vittorio Gorelli, who for this weekend has moved teams he had been racing with Racers Motorsport. He moves over to PK Car Sport for this weekend, the AutoGP champion from 2013. There goes Advait Dioda at the wheel of the number 31 Cal Racing machine. That's the Chevrolet SS that we saw Mauro Trioni qualifying in a few moments ago. Advait Dioda moved up from 4th to 3rd in the championship following a solid weekend at Brands Hatch. Had a 2nd and a 6th place in the 2 races there. And the very likeable Indian will be joining me in the commentary box over the course of this weekend. He's scheduled to join me for the Elite 1 race tomorrow. Number 66, Lasse Sorensen, is going to be one to watch in this qualifying session. Might be a relative newcomer to the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. He first appeared at Franciacorta for round 3 of the championship, but he has been an absolute sensation. Missed the first 2 races, so potentially lost out on a maximum of, 80 points, there or thereabouts. But at Franciacorta, his first ever NASCAR race at the wheel of that number 66 car, he won it. The 2nd ever NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series race at Franciacorta, he finished 3rd. At Brands Hatch, after problems, he qualified and started at the back of the grid in the first of the races, but he runs wide, the same spot as Alan Day, ran wide coming out of turn number 17. So problems there for the Danish driver. I was saying Brands actually had to start at the back of the grid, and guess what? He won it. 40 points for a race win, but he also took the extra 4 points for gaining the most places in the race. And in the 2nd of the 2 races at Brands Hatch, he won that. So he's only competed in 4 NASCAR races. He's won 3 of them, and one of those off the very back of the grid. What can he do in this one? He was 3rd quickest on combined times yesterday. Eric Dodonka bounces over the curbs at the wheel of the 98 Motorsport car, the Ford Mustang, as he turns his way through, what's that? It's turn number 4 and up towards turn number 5. This is where it all sort of gets towards the twiddly parts of it now. The right-hand flick at 5, flicks left at 6, it goes right again at 7, it goes right again at 8, it goes left at 9, then you're onto the brakes and right again at 10. And this is one of the key corners. Get off this corner cleanly, carry the momentum through the right-hand flick at turn number 11, it flicks left at turn number 12, which is where he's heading now, Eric Dodonka. Then you're on the brakes for turn number 13, but again you need momentum off this corner. You're briefly on the brakes, use all of the curb, get off the corner cleanly through the left-hand kink at turn number 14, and then onto the brakes again. That between turn number 10 and turn 15, where he's heading now, is where the time can be found, according to so many drivers. Round through turn 15, turn 16, don't run wide at turn 17 like we saw Alan Day and Lasse Sorensen do, and now carry the momentum through turn number 18, the left-hand kink at turn number 19, and down the short straight into the braking area, as we heard from Martin Dubeck. This will be a good out-braking area up towards turn number 20 come the race. Justin Kuntz is fastest at the wheel of the 99 deck sweat car in this qualifying session. There he goes, the German. He has posted a time of a 1 minute 43.335 to go top of the times at this stage. Sister car to it, Lasse Sorensen for Deck Sweat DF1 Racing, is 2nd quickest, so they are so far 1st and 2nd in this 20-minute qualifying session. So lots of time to find the ideal time, but if you found the time that's going to keep you in the top 12, park it up, save the tyres would be my suggestion to them, because in what is scheduled to be a very warm day today and an even warmer day tomorrow, scheduled to peak at something like 37 or 38 degrees Celsius, then the key to it all is going to be looking after those tyres. If you do less laps in this 20-minute qualifying session on them, it gives you a few more laps potentially to either push on in Superpole or maybe just save those tyres for the racing conditions tomorrow. Lasse Sorensen heading around to try and see whether he can find a bit more time. You can see all he needs to find is 70 thousandths of a second, both on 1 minute 42.6s, but Lasse Sorensen having improved his time last time through. I would imagine Justin Kuntz is now looking to see whether he can further improve. 1 minute 43.335 was top of the times, but the second flying lap, other drivers have gone quicker, so it's actually the championship leader, Giorgio Maggi, that tops the times at this stage, and Lasse Sorensen looking to try and find just 70 thousandths of a second to see whether he can go back to the top of the times. Looks neat and tidy lap this time through from Lasse Sorensen. Martin Dubeck at his home Grand Prix, of course. Remember, the first ever Czech NASCAR Grand Prix. is third quickest. But Lasse Sorensen looking to try and see what he can do. Heading towards us now is number 77, Freddie Hemburg. Freddie is 14th quickest for Memphis Racing. Car that he shares with the Elite 1 driver Alexander Graf and team owner for Memphis Racing. 1 minute 46.422 from Freddie Hemburg is a little way off the times that we would expect him to be posting. Freddie yesterday was, I think, one of the drivers that didn't do a great deal of running in the free practice sessions. He was 13th quickest in the end in free practice, so wasn't inside the top 12. He's now inside the top 12, but Giorgio Maggi, who was the quickest in this session, now finds himself second quickest. The 70,000ths of a second have been found by Lasse Sorensen, and a bit more as well, because a 1 minute 42.5 now puts him half a second quicker than this number 50 car in the hands of the championship leader, Giorgio Maggi. So the Ford for Hendricks Motorsport, second quickest. Looking to try and see whether he can just find a little bit more, plenty of time in which to do so, because we are not as yet even halfway through this Elite 2 qualifying session. There's still 11 minutes and 40 seconds to go. A spin, and that looked as though it's the number 24 PK Car Sport car that had the spin. That was Andre Castro, the American, the 20-year-old, that looked as though he had a rotation there. That was round through sort of turn number 15, 16, 17 area, and let's hope that that didn't compromise the lap for Giorgio Maggi. That happening directly ahead of him might have just allowed him to get on the brakes, wondering where the rotating number 24 car was going. There is Vittorio Garelli, switching to PK Car Sport for this weekend. The driver who's second in the championship standings, looking to see what he might be able to do. This is the driver that's third in the championship standings, Advait Dioda, right behind Martin Dubeck, who is third quickest in this qualifying session. Advait Dioda is finding himself at the wheel of the number 31 car, down in 7th at the moment in this session. Alessandro Brigatti moving out of the way. No, that's actually Nicolas Risitano actually moving out of the way, the second of the two Racers Motorsport cars that we've got in this qualifying session. But whether that was again going to compromise the lap of Martin Dubeck, we will only find out at the end of it. Round through turn number 10, the 360-degree hairpin. Tough job there for our cameraman, having to pan through 360 degrees. It's a fantastic viewing point, that part of the circuit. Sweeps his way through turn number 13, the Czech driver. He was quickest in the combined free practice sessions yesterday. 1 minute 42.057 saw Martin Dubeck set the fastest Elite 2 time of the day that we'd had. Is he going to be good enough to head to the top of the times come Super Pole? We'll only find out at the end of this session, and then another 5 minutes thereafter. He's blended out of the throttle on this lap, so it's not going to be an improved time for this lap. A wave out of the window for Advait Dioda. And off the circuit there's somebody that's off the circuit there. I think that might be Thomas Krasinos, the Greek driver that's pulled off on what is the left-hand side of the circuit. So Advait Dioda and Martin Dubeck opt to head in towards the pit lane area. Eric Clement, the 43-year-old Frenchman, at the wheel of the number 88 Racing Engineering Ford Mustang continuing round. Racing Engineering new to the championship this year, but Racing Engineering are a hugely successful team in motorsport, whether it be single-seaters or sports cars as well, where they have done great things. And there's a big old spin for Eric Clermont, all the way through the gravel, sprinkling gravel all over the corner as well, right on the apex of the corner, Eric Clermont. No real damage done to the car, but that's going to be a very gravelly part of the circuit, and therefore you get that gravel underneath the tyres. It acts like marbles in reality, so that the tyre's no longer in contact with the tarmac, and the car will move around everywhere. So drivers need to be aware of that, because that is going to be a very difficult part of the circuit. And I think that was at turn 1, wasn't it, where Eric Clermont just lost the back end of the car and it got away from him. Vittorio Garelli, second in the championship standings, moving over to the number 11 PK Car Sport Chevy for this weekend, still continuing on a flying lap. Heading down pit road goes Myatt Snyder at the wheel of the number 48 Ford, the American. who's 6th currently. Had a good run last weekend at Gateway in the Gander Outdoors Camping Series, where he finished, I think it was 10th overall in the race, and in the second stage actually was runner-up in the second stage of that race. So the American flying over to compete in the full season this year. But for Vittorio Garelli, what can the 25-year-old Italian do? Used to see him race in GP3 as well as GP2. Huge amounts of experience. He's classified unbelievably as a rookie, but that's because he is new to the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. It's his first championship season in it, so despite the fact that arguably it's a disservice calling him a rookie, he is new to the championship and therefore is eligible for the rookie trophy. You can see the yellow and red flag in the background suggesting that oil has been deposited by the 17-year-old teenager Thomas Krasinas. There goes Ben Creanor, who is the youngest driver in NASCAR Whelen Euro Series history, the Scotsman, the number 33 car he shares with Luca Lasser. Where is he currently? Well, he's not going to head through to the Super Pole session. With 7 minutes to go, Ben is down in 16th position now. He was in 15th, he's just down to 16th position now. He will be joining me in the commentary box for the Elite 1 race later on today. A driver who is in his first season of motor racing, unbelievably. Had to work hard to get his signatures to obtain his race licence to be able to join the grid. And there is a big dust cloud, which is slowly clearing. And is that Eric Clermont again? It is, yeah, it looks as though it is Eric Clermont that is in the gravel. Already having had one rotation through the gravel and getting away with it. He's had a second rotation through the gravel. He's stuck, and that is going to bring about the red flags for this qualifying session, I would have thought, because that car is not at all in a safe place. So that will have to be scooped up by our officials. Yeah, red flags are out. You can see there on the marshal's post, the red flags come out with there or thereabouts 6 minutes of the session still to go. So red flags come out, and they'll need to get that number 88 Ford out of the way. Eric Clermont, who is not short of experience again. We've seen him racing in the Blancpain series in the past. We've seen him racing in GT4. He's competed at the Spa 24 Hour as well as the 43-year-old Frenchman. But after his second trip through the gravel at the wheel of the number 88 Racing Engineering Ford Mustang, he got away with it first time. He didn't second. So red flags out. We will get some sort of resumption of this session, but at the moment, top of the times, number 66 Lasse Sorensen. Can't say enough about the Dane. He's a very likeable man. He's a giant of a man as well. He's something like 6'4", Lasse Sorensen, and really has made a massive impact since joining the 2019 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series at Franciacorta. Tops the times, 1 minute 42.070. Second quickest at this stage is number 50, the championship leader, Giorgio Maggi, with a 1 minute 42.540. Shouldn't take long to get Eric Clermont's car out of the way. Third quickest, plenty of home support for the only Czech driver in the field this weekend. Number 7, Martin Dubek, putting in a good performance in Elite 2, 1 minute 42.852, still recovering from that knee operation he had only 4 weeks ago. And fourth quickest, number 99, Justin Kuntz, the German, 1 minute 43.158. Fifth quickest, number 27, Pierluigi Veronesi, 1 minute 43.280. And Myatt Snyder, the sister car to this one that's just been dragged out of the gravel, the number 48 car in the hands of the American, 1 minute 43.517. So questions coming in from the internet. Thank you for asking the questions. Please stay in contact with us on social media. How many laps for the race today? Well, for the Elite 1 cars, they will have a 17-lap race. Doesn't sound many, but remember, it's a 4.2 kilometre circuit, or 2.6 miles, so that's still 71.5 kilometres. So for Elite 1, 17 laps they will have. For Elite 2, it is a 14-lap race. That's the same for both today and tomorrow, so the race distances do not change from Saturday to Sunday. 17 laps for Elite 1, 14 laps for Elite 2. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. So, a bit more clearing up being done. We've got Eric Clermont's car out of the gravel. Not entirely sure what happened to the car of Alex Caffey Motorsport driver Thomas Krasinis. He clearly had some sort of mechanical issue, which meant that he had to retire it at the very edge of the circuit. The yellow and red flags were held out by the marshals at that point, which is usually to indicate that there's some sort of foreign object on the circuit. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's oil. It could be coolant. It could be bits of bodywork potentially that strewn themselves on the circuit. But when you see a car pulled off like that to the left-hand side of the circuit, as the teenager did, the Greek by nationality, but he lives in the UK, Thomas Kratinas, tends to suggest that there's some sort of mechanical issue, and there might have been some oil deposited at that part of the circuit. So I suspect we won't see any more from the former kart racer, who then moved up into the Junior Saloon Car Championship in the UK, in which he competed in 2016, 2017. So cars lining up at the end of the pit lane. The female official sporting those lovely pink trainers, holding the yellow flag aloft, ready to make sure they're ready to go. And there is the beautiful, staggeringly pretty castle that sits right on the top of the hill, overlooking what is a wonderful city, Most. Beautiful city. We're about an hour north of Prague, the capital city here in the Czech Republic, for what is the first ever Czech Grand Prix and the first ever visit to Eastern Europe for the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. It's a slightly extended calendar for this year. We visit 7 venues rather than what has been a historic 6 venues. So we go to Spain. We've already been there for the first round of the championship. Rounds 1 and round 2 took place at Circuit Ricardo Tormo, just outside of Valencia. Rounds 3 and 4 took place at Franciacorta, just outside of Milan. Rounds 5 and 6 were last time out in the United Kingdom at Brands Hatch, not far away from London. We're here just north of Prague for rounds 7 and 8, and then the next couple of rounds will take place at Venray, the only oval circuit that we will visit on the calendar, which again is sort of not far away from Eindhoven and sort of slightly northeast of Amsterdam. And then after we've had our oval rounds, then we're into the playoffs, which is double points in the playoffs. So it's not 40 points for a race victory, it will be 80 points for a race victory, and all the drivers know that's where the championship is won or lost in the playoffs. Double points at both Hockenheim in Germany, where we're there on the 21st and 22nd of September, and the final rounds again this year take place at Circuit Zolder in Belgium on the 5th and the 6th of October. So the bonnet is up on Jesse Vartiernen's Ford Mustang for Alex Caffey Motorsport. So whether there's been conversation between team and Thomas Krasinas as to what went wrong with the car, and it may well be they're just double checking that whatever's gone wrong with the number 1 car, that the number 2 car is fine. Let's hope so. So it may well be, yeah, they're just double checking that whatever problem befell Thomas Krasinas, that the same is not going to happen to Jesse Vartiernen in what is scheduled to be, well, the clock stopped, the red flag came out with 6 minutes and 15 seconds to go, 1-5 that is, of the qualifying session. Now they'll still have to do another out lap, which means there'll be just over 4 minutes of flying laps available. So if you're at the front of the queue, you should be able to get 3 flying laps in remaining in this qualifying session. If you're at the back of the queue, it may well just be 2, and not necessarily all of the cars might head out. So the likes of Lasse Sorensen, who's quickest as the green flag waves, Giorgio Maggi, who's second quickest, Martin Dubeck, who's third, Justin Kuntz, Pierluigi Veronese and Myatt Snyder. That's the top 6. They all might opt just to stay in the pit lane, possibly, if they are happy with the time that they have posted, and they are also happy that nobody's going to improve to knock them outside of the top 12 runners, because it's only the top 12 that go through to Superpole. Who would I expect to see inside the top 12 that is not at the moment? Well, number 24, Andre Castro, who is lying 8th in the championship standings, has had 3 second places so far this year, arguably should have had some wins as well, is only 17th. Now, we saw his car have a spin, but he's only 17th, and he's not at the moment scheduled to make it through to the Superpole session. So there's work to be done there at the moment, and only clinging on to a place in Superpole, 12th quickest, is number 11, Vittorio Garelli, who lies 2nd in the championship standing. So he is on the bubble as such. 1 minute 43.805 is only 54 thousandths of a second quicker than the 13th place car, which is the Israeli driver Nave Talor for Solaris Motorsport, and the number 12 car. So if Talor can find a bit of time, then Vittorio Garelli will drop out of the Superpole session. So that all eyes will be on the number 7 car of Martin Dubeck. Can he improve his time? He is already third, so I'd have thought he'd be safely through to Super Pole. And in fact, yeah, he's just making sure he's staying out of the way, sensibly indicating to the drivers. They've left Thomas Krasin's car where it was. I thought they might try and move it out of harm's way, but I think they're keen to get the session back underway. And Martin Dubeck is equally as keen, is he, to... Yeah, he's done an outlap, he's coming back in again, so I think maybe the team have said to him, look, you know, let's park the car up for the moment. Looks as though you're safely through to Super Pole. Is there any need to take any more wear out of those tyres? Ian-Eric Varden over the start-finish line, the very rapid Finnish driver, another rookie to the championship, but another driver with huge amounts of experience. He was runner-up in the V8 Thundercars and Kamara Cup Finland last year, former champion in the Ferrari Challenge in Scandinavia, 54-year-old Finn, who will be joining me in the commentary box later on throughout the course of the season. The deal is done as such. A driver who has actually previously commentated on motorcycle racing, he was telling me some years ago, Ian-Eric Varden, so we'll be delighted to have him in the commentary box for one of the rounds. I'm not going to say which one, we'll keep you guessing later on throughout the course of this season. The number 9 car pushing on, which is the teenager Alessandro Brigatti, another rookie to the championship this year. Another teenager, the 18-year-old Italian out of FIA CIK Karting. Also did the FIA Karting Academy back in 2014. The number 9 car at the moment is 7th quickest, 1 minute 43.520. The quickest that we've seen that Racers Motorsport Ford Mustang go. Neat and tidy. He is no longer on his outlap, so this is a flying lap for Alessandro Brigatti. Are we going to see an improvement? You can see the car sort of twitching under power as he tries to get the throttle on as soon as possible, coming out of turn number 20 up towards turn number 21, uses all of the curves but doesn't run any wider than he ought to have done. Are we going to see an improved time for Brigatti as he comes over the start finish line? I'm not sure what we do. No, that was no improvement for Alessandro Brigatti. There is an improvement though for Advait Deodat, who now moves up to 4th quickest car, number 31 for Cal Racing, with 2 minutes to go. So any cars heading over the start finish line now have potentially got time for 2 flying laps. They're slowing out on circuit. Now, is that the number 27 car? Difficult to tell at distance. Yes, it is. It is the number 27 car of Pierluigi Veronesi. And he's heading into pit lane, Pierluigi Veronesi, so he is confident that 6th quickest and a time of 1 minute 43.280 will see him through towards Super Pole. So in other words, the cars behind him all the way down to 12th place, and Eric de Donker are not going to find half a second from somewhere in what is now remaining 1.5 seconds. Big snatch break there from both Ben Creanor and Eric Clermont. That was heading round through turn number 5 and turn number 6. There is number 54, which is Arianna Casoli, a former ladies champion, the Italian driver, who is hoping still to be out with us at Venray. She was saying over breakfast this morning, still trying to raise the budget to ensure that she's at Venray for the only oval round of the championship, which is only 2 weeks away as well, so hard work to be done to try and obtain the funds to join us for the only oval round in the Netherlands. Freddie Henberg over the start finish line, 10th quickest for the number 77 car. Car that's chasing him around the circuit is Nave Talot, the Israeli driver, who at the moment is in 10th place, I think, so I think he will make it through potentially to Super Pole. In fact, he's dropped down to 11th already, Nave Talot. Myatt Snyder at the moment is 13th, so isn't going to head through to Super Pole. Myatt Snyder, that would be a huge disappointment. He is jointly 5th in the championship standings. Both Lassie Sorensen, Myatt Snyder and Justin Kuntz are all on 158 points coming into this weekend, so it couldn't be any closer for 5th. Freddie Henberg, though, looking to try and get himself inside the top 12. This is his last flying lap as well, so he exits turn number 10. He is down in 14th position. Needs to find just a 10th of a second. That's how tight it is. If he can find a 10th of a second, it might be good enough to see him through to Super Pole. As the checkered flag now comes out, I think Arianna Casoli was the last car to get over the start-finish line before the checkered flag came out, so she's still got one more tour of the circuit to go. Lots and lots, and again another snatch break. That is the second lap on the trot. I think I said it was Eric Clement, but that is Myatt Snyder that's snatching the brakes there at turn number 5, using all of the curb, using a bit of the dust, snatching the brakes, hopefully not flat spotting the Control General slick tyres that all of the cars run for this season. But the checkered flag is now out, and are we going to see Nave Talor improve his time, because he's just dropped out of Superpole? He was in 12th place. The number 12 Solaris Motorsport Chevrolet is now no longer inside the top 12 because others around him have been able to post an improved time. The Israeli comes over the start-finish line. Is he going to improve his time? No, he doesn't. He, at the very end of the session, just misses out on getting through to Superpole. He will be rather disappointed with that. So the checkered flag is now out. There are still some cars out there on flying laps. Number 9 car of Alessandro Brigatti is the last car that has at the moment got himself through to Superpole, but if others around him improve, the few still take to take the checkered flag, then number 9 car might just drop out. Nicolas Risitano, the number 8 Racers Motorsport Chevrolet, is safely through. He claimed his first and only NASCAR Whelen Euro Series win at Valencia at Circuit Ricardo Tormo. He is 5th quickest, so we will see him back out fighting for pole position very shortly. And let's see whether the 30-year-old, who was a rookie champion back in 2016, finished 7th in the overall standings last year, did Nicolas Risitano, whether he can grab a pole position. All the cars have now taken the checkered flag, so through to Superpole. Number 66, Lasse Sorensen, is the quickest driver in the qualifying session, so he's through to Superpole. 1 minute 42.070. Second quickest in the end. What was I worried about? He was down in 17th. Second quickest, number 24, Andre Castro. 1 minute 42.307 from the American. Third quickest, the championship leader, number 50, Giorgio Maggi, and his Ford for Hendricks Motorsport. 1 minute 42.540. And fourth quickest, number 7, Martin Dubeck, at his home NASCAR Grand Prix, through to Superpole. 1 minute 42.852. Fifth quickest, number 8, Nicolas Risitano, 1:42.915. And sixth quickest, who is third in the championship, number 31 for Cal Racing, Advait Dioda, 1 minute 43.065. Seventh quickest, number 99 for Deck Sweat DF1, Justin Kuntz, 1 minute 43.158. Eighth quickest, number 11, Vittorio Garelli, second in the championship, through to Superpole, 1 minute 43.239. Ninth quickest, number 27, fourth in the championship, Pierluigi Veronese, 1 minute 43.280. And 10th quickest is number 98, Eric De Donker, having just competed in the Elite 1 qualifying session. He's through to Superpole in Elite 2, 1 minute 43.307. The last two for Superpole, number 9 is Alessandro Brigatti, 1 minute 43.382. And the last car through to Superpole is going to be the number 2 car of Jesse Vartiainen, who makes it through as the last car into the Superpole session for Alex Caffey Motorsport, the Finn, with a time of a 1 minute 43.420. So those are the top 12 cars that head through to the Superpole session to fight it out for the front 6 rows of the grid. And other cars that we would have expected to see through to Superpole but haven't done so, or the big surprise for me, 14th quickest, number 48, Myatt Snyder for Racing Engineering, has not made it through. He has finished second once so far this year. Arguably, again, could have had a race win had it not been for contact and a spin between himself and Andre Castro at Valencia. He's finished in the top 10 in every race, bar the one at Valencia, where they ended up making contact at the very final corner. But the American, who lies jointly 5th in the championship standings, has not made it through to Superpole. And another surprise for me, who's not made it through, only 15th quickest, is number 77 for Memphis Racing, Freddie Hemberg, is another driver who has not made it through. So he finished in 3rd place at Valencia. That was his only top 10 finish of the season, actually, as he finished in that position at Valencia. But he has not made it through, unfortunately. So the crowd ready for what will be 5 minutes of Superpole coming up shortly. The recovery of the number 1 car of Tom Krasinas is in the process of being made, I gather, under investigation for contact, number 2, Jesse Vartiernen, and number 70, Mirko Schultes. Now, we didn't see anything on screen, but clearly something happened between the number 2, Alex Caffey Motorsport Ford Mustang in the hands of the Finn, and the number 70 Chevrolet SS from Mishu Motors in the hands of the 54-year-old German Mirko Schultes. But that wasn't something that we saw on the screen. That's just information that's found its way to us from race control. So a bit more sweeping up being done. A mixture of the spins and cars having issues and picking up gravel. The number 1 Alex Caffey Motorsport Ford being lifted onto the back of the flatbed recovery unit. And there you can see Thomas Krasinus is just about to clamber into the cab. The white overalls of Thomas Krasinus clambering into the cab, ready to bring the car back into the paddock area. It shouldn't take long, actually, for that car to find its way back in on the back of the flatbed recovery unit, because it was at the exit of turn number 18 where it had the problem. So it's only sort of a quarter of the circuit, really, that the truck needs to head around before it can find its way into the pit lane area. So we should be good very shortly to get this 5-minute Super Pole session underway. Now, again, a bit like the Elite 1 division that we saw earlier on, we have had, of the 3 different qualifying sessions so far that have taken place for Super Pole, 3 different pole sitters. Mayat Snyder, who has not made it through to Super Pole, was on pole position at Valencia. Florian Venturi, who is not racing this weekend, managed to grab the pole position in the Super Pole session at Franciacorta. And last time out at Brands Hatch, it was Andre Castro, the American driver, who grabbed pole position. So again, 3 Super Pole sessions in, 3 different pole sitters in Elite 2. Could we do like we've just done in Elite 1 and make it 4 different pole sitters out of the 4 sessions? Well, we'll find out very, very shortly as to whether, a bit like Elite 1, 4 different pole sitters out of the 4 different sessions. That would be the case if the likes of Lasse Sorensen or Giorgio Maggi or Martin Dubeck qualified on pole position, and such is the momentum that Lasse Sorensen has had since joining the championship in Italy. You wouldn't bet against that, but Martin Dubeck has got home advantage this weekend, the Czech driver for Hendricks Motorsport. So a huge amount of support for him. Family supporters, family and friends and sponsors all heading towards this part of the Czech Republic to support the local driver this weekend. So there are the cars lining up in the pit lane area, looking to see as to who is going to head towards pole position. There is the number 31 car of Advait Dioda, so he's joining me in the commentary box later on this weekend. The number 11 car, Vittorio Gorelli, this weekend. So that's a car that we've seen various drivers driving. We saw that in the hands of Freddie Nordstrom at Brands Hatch, the number 11 PK Car Sport car. Bert Longines, Stinus Longine's father. Stinus races that car in Elite 1. His father's raced it in Elite 2 so far this season. So I think that will make Vittorio Gorelli the 3rd different driver that has driven that car in the Elite 2 division so far this season. There is Pierluigi Veronesi, who has had a solid season. The number 27 car in the hands of the Italian, lying 4th in the championship standings, Pierluigi Veronesi, but he's not had a podium so far this year. He's not even had a top 6 so far this year. It's consistency for him. He has had 4 top 10 finishes and has finished in the top 15 in all of the races. So he's just scored solid points all season and has been Mr. Consistency at the wheel of that number 27 car. So green flag waves, 5 minutes of Super Pole underway. We gather the investigation has been made into the contact between the number 2 car, which was in the hands of Jesse Vartiernen, and number 70 Mirko Schultes, and the 2 best laps for Jesse Vartiernen have been cancelled for avoidable contact, so that will shuffle the grid order. So Vartiernen loses his 2 best laps, and it'll be interesting to see actually where that puts him on the grid. Thankfully for Elite 2, it's a 20-minute qualifying session, so you get more laps in. Had that been an Elite 1 driver that got his best 2 laps cancelled, that could have had a very, very large impact on the grid. So out onto circuit, number 66 car. Are we going to see the first ever career pole position in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series for Jesse Vartiernen? Well, we'll find out in the next, in reality, 3 minutes and 30 seconds now, would you believe, before the checkered flag flies. So already a minute and a half of this session has gone, and Jesse Vartianen is still in the process of just about to complete his outlap. He will get over the start-finish line with the opportunity to get 2 flying laps in, and therefore you need to make at least one of them count in reality. So through goes the Dane over the start-finish line. Already the most successful driver in terms of wins so far this season. 3 wins out of the 4 races in which he's competed. Nice and neat and tidy up towards turn number 1. Turn number 2 maybe just misses a little bit of the apex there, but if he gets cleanly off the corner, he'll carry momentum round through turn number 3 and turn number 4 and up towards turn number 5, where he needs to get on the brakes, use all of that curb on the right hand side. There you go, onto the curb, through the brakes, on towards turn number 6 and already up to turn number 7, where the circuit then flicks again through turn number 8 and turn number 9, and then round through turn number 10, the 360-degree hairpin. This is the key part of the circuit. Get off the corner cleanly, carry the momentum through the kink at 11. There's the curbing at 11, up towards turn number 12. See the countdown boards which give the indication as to where the drivers are going to head onto the brakes. Didn't grab the apex as much as I'd have thought through turn number 13 there, so maybe a tenth or so lost there for the car in the hands of Lasse Sorensen. Uses all of the curb through turn number 15. You can see the dust being raised as he grabbed the curb, all of the curb through turn number 16. Be careful not to run wide, Lasse. You did in the first part of the qualifying session. Nice and neat and tidy through 17, up towards the kink at 18, where he'll be flat out. The first flying laps coming in from the cars that got things underway a little bit earlier, but it's nice and neat and tidy. You see the nose of the car dip as he gets onto the brakes at the wheel of the Chevy, turning his way through the right-hander at turn number 21, over the start-finish line. Is this going to be good enough for pole position? He's got one more lap to get in because there's only 1 minute and 32 remaining on the clock, and Lasse Sorensen goes to the top of the times, but not for long, because Giorgio Maggi just goes quicker. The number 50 car in the hands of the championship leader, a race winner at the first round at Valencia, 3 times a podium visitor so far this year, has just gone to the top of the times. 1 minute 41.412 is amazingly a second quicker than anybody else managed on their first flying lap for this Super Pole session. So there's work to be done for the likes of Lasse Sorensen, Vittorio Garelli. Andre Castro goes second quickest, the American, on pole position last time out at Brands Hatch. But Giorgio Maggi would desperately like his first pole position of the season. His first pole position it would be in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series, because he is a rookie to the championship for this year. Again, it looks a neat and tidy lap from him, trying to chase down the Deckswet DF1 car that's ahead of him. There goes Martin Dubeck with the gold bumpers, his home NASCAR Grand Prix. At the moment, he is 5th quickest. Looking neat and tidy. Looks as though the Ford is pushing on from Hendricks Motorsport. Up towards the braking area for turn number 15. Flicks his way then left at turn number 16. Again, you can see them using all of the curbs, but not cutting onto the grass. Be careful on the way out of 17 that you don't run wide. And certainly looks as though Hendricks are doing their homework perfectly for qualifying. Andre Castro, can he find anything more? He needs to find half a second if he wants to try and mount a challenge for that pole position. The American at the wheel of the number 24 PK Car Sport Chevy. 1 minute 42.141, his best at this stage. But he is going to head towards the checkered flag because the clock has now ticked to 0, so the cars are all on their final flying lap. The nose of the car braking, you can almost see the front splitter dragging on the ground. So hard is he pushing the brake into the floor, but not hard enough to snatch the brakes. Remember, no driver aids on these cars, no traction control, no ABS, pure racing in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. Andre Castro over the start-finish line. Is it going to be good enough? It's not. He does not improve his time, and there's only one more car to take the checkered flag, which does so now. Alessandro Brigatti, who was 12th and moves up to 8th as he crossed the start-finish line, so that is an improvement. But with all of the cars now having taken the checkered flag, a bit like in the Elite 1 division, 4 qualifying sessions in, 4 Super Pole sessions in, and 4 different pole sitters. How unpredictable is the 2019 season? Number 50, Giorgio Maggi, grabs the pole position for Hendricks Motorsport in his Ford. Hendricks have had a great qualifying session here in both Elite 1 and Elite 2, but Maggi is going to start from pole position for our Elite 2 race later on today with a 1 minute 41.412. Second quickest, number 24, Andre Castro, the outside of the front row of the grid for the American. He was pole last time out at Brands Hatch, 1 minute 42.141. Third quickest for number 66, Lasse Sorensen. He will have to wait for at least one more race weekend to potentially grab a pole. Not to be here for him. 1 minute 42.544 sees him third. And fourth quickest in his first weekend of racing for PK Car Sport, number 11, Vittorio Garelli, 1 minute 42.805. Fifth quickest, number 7, the Czech driver Martin Dubek at his home NASCAR Grand Prix, 1 minute 42.858. And sixth quickest, number 31, driver that's third in the championship standings, the Indian, but the London-based Indian, Advait Dioda, 1 minute 42.860. Seventh quickest was number 2, Jesse Vartienem, 1 minute 42.981. Eighth quickest for 98, Eric de Donker, with a 1 minute 43.142. And ninth quickest for number 8, Nicolas Risitano, 1 minute 43.217. 10th quickest, number 99, Justin Kuntz, the German, for DF1 Deck Sweat Racing, 1 minute 43.380. And the last row of the grid that's being formed by this Super Pole session, number 27, Pierluigi Veronese, fourth in the championship, but only 11th quickest. You could argue might be slightly disappointed with that. 1 minute 43.360. And well, Justin Kuntz there had dropped down to the bottom of the order, so I think there might have been a few lap times lost potentially there. So other drivers gaining places on the grid, and Justin Kuntz losing out ultimately. So Maggi from Sorensen, Castro from Dubek, Dioda from Garelli, Vartienem from Brigatti, then Eric de Donker, Nicolas Risitano, Pierluigi Veronese, and Justin Kuntz. That then is the front 6 rows of the grid, subject to any other amendments that might be made before we get our Elite 2 division race underway. Now, the stream for that is scheduled to go live at 16:45 Eastern European summertime. That means that it's going to be 10:45 Eastern summertime in the US. The race itself gets underway 20 minutes or 15 minutes after that, actually, at 5 o'clock local time here in Central Europe, which means that it's going to be 11 a.m. in the morning Eastern time in the US. So the crowd's still all busy enjoying the action, not just from the qualifying sessions and from the Super Pole sessions of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, but also all of the support racing and all of the other things that go on behind the scenes here at Autodrome Most. They're also enjoying the weather as well, because it has so far been ideal weather conditions for spectating. The drivers maybe argue otherwise, that it's getting a little bit warm in their cars. But that's it for the moment from Autodrome Most. Don't forget, join us later on today when we will see the Elite 1 race get underway. We are scheduled to go live with the stream at 13:25 Central European summertime. If you're watching in the US, thank you for joining us and getting up very, very early in the morning for the qualifying sessions for Elite 1 and Elite 2. But you can go back to bed now for a few hours. We go live with the stream at 7:25 a.m. Eastern summertime for our Elite 1 race later on today. So from Autodrome Most, that's all from the moment. We will see you later on here for the Czech Grand Prix. Welcome to Autodromo di Franciacorta. For round 6 of the 2000. Welcome to Circuit Zolder for the final round. The lights go out, the green flag flies. It's all very tight up towards turn 1. Oh, it's close and there's contact. They're side by side. When the checkered flag falls and the race is done, there's always time for celebrations.